Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. Our special guest, Brigida Santos, is with us. Hi.
Hi.
Check out her work on The World According to Jesse on RT, which I was just lucky enough to guest host. Check that out. And thanks to Jesse, true patriot. Love that guy. Today, there's not a lot of good news when you're fighting the establishment. It's often an uphill battle. You have to pay personal price for it. If you're going to fight against the establishment for anything, especially if you're going to fight for the downtrodden and the people with no voice. And that's what Colin Kaepernick does, right? And so Colin Kaepernick's way to bring attention to the criminal lynching by police of black youths or black people in America and police brutality, he decided to do this crazy thing, kneel down during the national anthem to bring attention to something that needs fixing in America. Now, let's remember that the national anthem has been turned into an unbelievably politicized pro-war anthem, right? Because before, when they would play the national anthem at NFL games, the players would wait in the locker room, and then after the national anthem, they'd come out and everybody would go crazy. We're starting the game. And then people stopped signing up for the military because they started to see through these wars that they're all bogus and they're all for oil. And they're not certainly there to help anyone. And so once they couldn't get people to join up anymore, that one of the things the military did was they started paying the NFL to do little war rallies before the game. And part of that war rally was to have the players come out before the national anthem. That was part of it. So before the NFL was being paid by the military, they stayed in the locker room. Now they come out because they're getting paid. Not because they're patriotic, but because they're being paid. And that's the part that never gets reported in the news. So he did a thing. He wanted to draw attention to police brutality in America and the way blacks are being treated by cops. And a Green Beret heard about this, and he actually consulted with Colin Kaepernick, and he said, a good way to do it would be to kneel, take one knee. That would be a respectful way. That was from a Green Beret, told Colin Kaepernick to do that, because before he was just sitting down. And so he decided to be more respectful, take the advice of a Green Beret, and kneel. So now you know the rest of the story. That part never gets told either. That idea came from a Green Beret.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That part never gets told.
No, I'd never heard that.
There you go. So now he's being recognized by international organizations. In fact, Amnesty International gave him their highest honor. And this is reported in GQ. And here, I'll just read you a little. It says, since being named GQ's Citizen of the Year, that's nice, they recognized him. Colin Kaepernick has received Sports Illustrated Muhammad Ali Legacy Award. Now, that's a great award. Muhammad Ali, people forget, similar situation, he stood up for what was right, and he wouldn't go kill people in Vietnam. And Muhammad Ali's rationale was, Vietnamese people never did anything to me. The people who did stuff to me are right here in America. The people denying me a right to vote are right here in America. The people who are denying me my equal participation in this society are right here. My enemies are here. And George Carlin made a great observation that the government wanted him, Muhammad Ali made his living beating people up. And the government said that if you're not willing to go kill people for us, we're not going to let you beat anybody up. And that's what happened. So in the prime of his career, he wasn't allowed to box. The best boxer in the history of boxing, they stole his prime away from him. And that's what they're doing to Colin Kaepernick right now, too. Prime of his career, they're stealing it away from him. He received the Muhammad Ali Legacy Award and the Eason Moore Courageous Advocate Award from the ACLU. Now, Amnesty International has awarded Kaepernick with highest distinction the organization has, the Ambassador of Conscience Award. Ooh, that sounds like a big award. I'm going to guess it doesn't pay well. but he got it, the Ambassador of Conscience Award. And this is what he said while receiving the award. I just want to read this part to you. How can you stand for the national anthem of a nation that preaches and propagates freedom and justice for all, that is so unjust to so many of the people living there? Kaepernick, he's 30. He said that at the ceremony. Racialized oppression and dehumanization is woven into the very fabric of our nation. Ooh, that's some tough talk. People don't want to hear that. What? Yes, racialized oppression and dehumanization is woven into the very fabric of our nation, the effects of which can be seen in the lawful lynching of black and brown people by the police and the mass incarceration of black and brown lives in the prison industrial complex. The United States has been referred to as the world's largest penal colony because we imprison more people in our country than any other country in the world, including China. So one more thing that they say. Meanwhile, Kaepernick has completed his promised $1 million in donations despite being blackballed by the NFL. Whew. What do you think of that, huh?
I mean, I think what Kaepernick is doing is amazing, and I think it's incredible that people are prestigious, like Amnesty, are coming out and saying, we support you, we love what you're doing, keep it up. It is a bummer that he can't play football anymore if that's what he wants to do, but I think what he's doing is so much bigger. He knows that, and so many people do support him, and he's just speaking the truth again. The truth has become such a problem for people. They just can't handle it anymore. It's really insane.
And you know what's kind of ironic is that I stopped, and I know people make fun of me for this. They call me a snowflake or whatever. But I stopped watching football because it's obvious to me that he is being shut out because of this, because of him doing what's right.
Right.
And I think every owner, first of all, the people who own the NFL teams call themselves owners, which is really, really, and most of the players are black. You would think you'd want to find another term.
Well, and there's the whole concussion thing. They just hid that. They clearly don't care about the people that they own. Right. They just want them to go out there and play for them. And as soon as they start calling out these systems of oppression, then they got to get the boot, because they can't have everyone else that they own be getting riled up, because that's exactly what will happen. If they allow Colin to stay there, then everybody else is going to start taking a knee, and then they've got a lot of trouble.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. Well, if you let these things that we own start thinking for themselves, the rest of them are going to start thinking they can think for themselves. And then how are you going to control these animals?
I mean, it's just like a tiny version of American history.
Yes, right.
It's just like another arena. You know, you have like the big everything that's happened, and then you have this one space. But it's not just football where these things are happening. It is also the prison industrial complex and law enforcement. There are so many little tiny microcosms of this systemic oppression happening. And he just happened to be the most famous at the time and use his power for good, just like we talked about Natalie Portman. I think it's great to have people coming out and standing up for what's right, because it does get in the news, whether people smear him or not. There are other people who are awarding him, and he's going to have a great career, a longer one that he probably would have with the NFL. Right. He'll have a career as an activist. Yeah. Right. And I'm sure he'll get endorsements from other companies. And, it's very popular right now as an entertainer to be an activist. A lot of my friends are actors, and they always say you can't just be an actor anymore. You have to be an activist. So that It's happening all over. Like, things are changing. I think it's really cool. And it is because of the young people like Kaepernick, who's 30. And, I am hopeful for the future, despite all the stuff. As a person who works in media and news, it's a bummer all the time. And I try to look at the positive things that are happening. It's hard, but I think it's important. I agree. Here's what my favorite news person had to say about it. Chris Hayes. Chris Hayes says, Kaepernick not being signed is the most high-profile, high-dollar example of punishing free expression and policing speech that exists in the country at the moment. Now, of course,
he's right about that. And I never let a good deed go unpunished. So I retweeted that saying, says the guy who gladly works for a company that fires people who tell the truth about war or even covers progressive politicians. Hashtag crocodile tears, hashtag Ed Schultz, hashtag Phil Donahue. I could have put hashtag Jesse Ventura.
Yes, you could have.
So that's why Chris Hayes is full of shit, because he has selective outrage. And I'm sure if he was paid to not talk about Colin Kaepernick, he wouldn't. If somebody told him, hey, here's 30 grand, don't tweet about Colin Kaepernick, he would be like, thank you. Because that's who he is. This is what they call virtue. What he's doing here is called virtue signaling, right? Mm-hmm. Look at me, what a good person I am and all that stuff. And forget about that I'm working for a completely corrupt organization that fires people who even want to talk about Bernie Sanders. That's what that is. So, of course, I had to bring it back to somehow bashing MSNBC. This great story about Colin Kaepernick. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is July 1st in Portland, Oregon. There's a link for tickets for all of our live shows right there. And if you can remember, please take a moment to make sure you're subscribed to the show. It only takes a second. You probably think you're subscribed, but you probably aren't. Just make sure you're subscribed. Click that bell so they send you a notice when we drop a video. Otherwise, they won't tell you. And if you become a premium member or a Patreon, we give you hours of bonus material every week. And we do a live chat every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific time where you can ask us questions and we'll answer them. Plus, we're on Steam It. We're steaming it right now.